Hello everybody and welcome. Today I have a deck list for you that a lot of people in our YouTube comments were asking for. If you don't know, we do a challenge on the series, on this channel, me, Travis, and Bryn, where we do a limited collection run where we rotisserie draft our decks. So what happens is we each get to choose 3 different sets in a rotating draft format, and then we have to build a deck from those sets. We cannot use the investigator decks or the core set, and it has been a very fun and very challenging series that we've done. Most recently, we did Mystics twice, and I built a Father Mateo deck using a limited collection of the Forgotten Age, the Circle Undone, and the Feast of Hemlock Vale. This turned out to be a very eye-opening experience for me due to how this perceived my power level of Father Mateo. Olive McBride 2 was a very big boost to this. I did a video recently on the channel, which I will link. I will also link a playlist to this series with this deck, so you can see it in action. But a lot of people wanted to see this deck, mainly due to the reason of how well it performed. So I've never done this for one of these limited collections runs, but I'm going to. First, let's take a look at Father Mateo. If you don't know, this guy, his ability, up until this point, was kind of pretty neutral. It was just kind of like one of those things where it's good and his Elder Sign effect is really nice, but token pulling wasn't in a space enough that it was particularly consistent for it to really pop off. In the video I linked down in the description, Olive McBride 2, who now allows you whenever you do a test, you can exhaust her to look at 4 tokens and choose 2 of them to resolve. This was actually a huge boon to Father Mateo because it increased the chances of him hitting Elder Signs, but also other symbol tokens, and I use that to my advantage with this deck that I'm very excited to share with all of you today. What it also did was just like the number of Elder Signs that I was able to pull was really, really, really nice. Father Mateo, his deck building is not the greatest. The Blessed Pool surprisingly has not grown as much as you want it to. However, with just the single edition of Olive McBride 2, it was a huge boon to this. There's also a link down in the video description to the deck itself if you want to check that out as well. All right. What the heck? Where's the actual deck? Oh my god, 1 second. Okay, here we go. We're actually good now. I made the slide, but then didn't save the slide, so I just had to save it. But we're here. This is the actual deck list. I'm going to talk about these cards individually, and then we're going to kind of bounce between them. So, like, if I'm going to refer to like one card down the road, but I am going to look at all these cards individually to talk about here. Again, because this is just the showcase slide, there is a link if you actually want to, like, you know, like read the cards at your own pace and don't have to like squint or zoom in or anything like that. We're just going to go left to right, top to bottom, as we just talk about these cards individually and why they may have a place in this deck, or, you know, what my intention was with them. Scroll of Secrets 3 admittedly looks a little bit strange here. Because it doesn't really do too much. The Seeker version of Scroll of Secrets, where it allows you to look at 3 cards on the bottom of your deck, is so much better than the Mystic upgraded version, which just allows you to look at the encounter deck. However, I did roll Doomed in my deck, and I already had the level 0 Scroll of Secrets because, honestly, it is pretty comparable to the level 3 version in the Mystic class. But what it did allow me to do was the upgrade, which I eventually was able to do because in a limited collection you don't have as much to upgrade into. What it allowed me to do was have 1 extra look to try to work around Doomed. So as you can see, this deck, I mean, in a limited collection in the Mystic class, card draw is going to suck anyway. But with Doomed as my basic weakness, it really changed the scope of how I approached my deck. So with Scroll of Secrets, I wasn't necessarily looking at taking that card and putting it into my hand. A lot of the times I would look at the card and be like, this isn't Doomed, I'm going to put it on top of my deck. So what Scroll of Secrets essentially did was give me 4 upkeep phases, 4 turns in the game, to not draw my Doomed weakness. So you kind of have to adapt and play around it, so that's what I did there. The other hand slot was what I really wanted to do, which was Sign Magic. This allows you to, when you activate an ability on a spell or ritual, you can exhaust it and do it on a different spell or ritual. I was informed halfway through that there in a recent FAQ, not the most recent, there was an FAQ for the word different, where different now means different by name, not just different by card. This has other implications. Look up oops sometimes. It made oops somehow worse with this ruling. But I was not able to, for example, 6 cents into a 6 cents, because that's how you used to be able to do it back in the day when people when different meant different by card, not different by card name. However, with that said, I do think that Sign Magic is still nice because it gives you more slots, so I can play like all 3 of my spell assets, both Mist, Sixth Sense, and Wither. However, it's not I think it went down less in value for me with that thing, and I used it less. It is very expensive, but again, this is a build that you can do with a limited collection, so I'm just showcasing this here. I'm not saying that this card is this deck is the most optimal thing, but this is actually just like literally a translation of what my deck was for that campaign. Mists of Relia, I wanted to evade enemies. This was some enemy management. I was the flex, that's why I was running both Sixth Sense and Wither, and I'll tell you, with Olive 2, these cards pop off. Wither was MVP in that one. Bryn brought an unconventional Dexter deck where he was fighting by evading and using dirty fighting and guns, so it was really nice to also have my Wither be able to put out the damage that we needed to. And yes, that might sound crazy that Wither was putting out the damage that we needed it to, but Wither actually performed incredibly well in this campaign. Travis did say during the run that Wither wasn't bad. There was times when we talked about Wither being bad, but I think Wither level 4 was always like playable, but not as good as it can be. But if you're playing around with Olive McBride 2, I do think it becomes much, much, much better. Just being able to consistently hit symbol tokens is really nice, and then you combo it with Eldritch Inspiration, which we'll get to in the near future. Olive McBride is the happy accident for this deck, because I originally built a Kohaku deck. But then I realized that Kohaku can't go into the upgraded Sixth Sense and Wither, so I did a last-minute pivot into Father Mateo with some slight modifications to my level 0 deck to make it legal. But the big thing was that it was the best decision I could have made, because while I do think Kohaku is very powerful, I think within this limited card pool, in a Mystic Investigator, Father Mateo was the way to go. And Olive McBride was the reason I drafted Hemlock Vale first alongside Kohaku. But with that said, I was very happy with the performance in Father Mateo, so much so that it actually makes me miss Father Mateo. I had a really fun time with this deck, and it was really good, and I think fondly of it. Four of Cups, again, nice and simple, one brain. It's the reason it's you know why it's there. Father Mateo only has 4 printed, and like Sixth Sense and Wither, while getting him to 6 with Olive McBride means you're going to pass things. Getting to 7 is that much more comfortable. Cat Mask is also here to give us some additional boosts in terms of brain, not so much fist. We didn't play it that much, to be honest. I think as a whole, the masks are less powerful than people thought they were. And I think even this Cat Mask here is... like, I think you need to be consistently using both stats and refilling it for it to really pop off. Luckily, like, Cat Mask does fill up on its own, but it was not as exciting as we all thought it was going to be back when these were first spoiled. Arcane Research was an obvious choice for me in this card pool because of the... let's go back to Cat Mask for a second. In a limited collection, it was better, but even then it was outclassed by other things. In a limited collection, you kind of have to just... if a card is playable, you take it, and Cat Mask was playable, so I did take it and I didn't regret it. On to Arcane Research, I think this was an easy choice here. Works really well with Sixth Sense, Wither, and Mists of Relia. Also works well with Alter Fate, which I then upgraded. I bought the level 1s and then upgraded into the level 3 over time. Alter Fate is very good. It's a very good tech card, and it's exceptionally good in Circle Undone, which is the campaign we played this in, so that was a no-brainer. Deals with Fate of All Fools, other things that might show up, Racked, those things you just want to be able to get rid of fast and for one resource. Yes, please. On to more of our events. These ones kind of speak for themselves. Deny Existence is prevention. It stops me from dying. I don't lose cards. All that kind of good stuff that's really nice with Deny Existence. Drain Essence is a kill spell. A little bit less impressive in Father Mateo than it would be in other investigators, but again, when you're playing with a limited collection, you kind of need to take what you can get. And while at most times this did end up being committed for just 1 brain, you kind of just, again, need to play with what you get. And it did its job. I don't even remember it working, but it has to at least have done it once, right? It had to at least done its effect once. I like this card, a lot more in like Parallel Agnes or even regular Agnes. If you have 5 built-in brain, the card becomes a lot better. Eldritch Inspiration It's a very cute card to work with both Wither and Sixth Sense. Resolving that effect in additional time, whether it be investing in another location or giving an enemy -2 fight, -2 health, -2 evade. Very, very nice. I think if you are playing Sixth Sense and Wither, you're going to want this. If you're playing just one of them, you don't. But there's a lot of complications, I think, when it comes to building this kind of deck, where I feel like Sixth Sense and Wither should be paired together as opposed to individual, especially in Wither's case. Even with Sixth Sense's case, but that's not here nor there. That's not this video. Premonition is a card that lifts its weight even in a full collection, and I think it even lifted it lifts its weight even more in a limited collection series. So that's what this was here. Used it constantly. Works really nice if like you we now do it like before a test. Like you use it like when you're doing a test to commit, to be like, this is what I'm gonna do. Do I need to commit anything to go here? Also from Hemlock Vale, we have the upgraded Read the Signs and Spectral Razor. These cards work really well with all of McBride to help dig out the tokens to return them to your hand. The downside with them in this deck is that we don't have the engine to get the money to constantly play these over and over and over again. So just something to be aware of, to make some modifications for when this comes, because like we could have ran with a Key of Solomon. We would need to go a bit more on Bless and Curse to do this, but it is something that like that with the Curse tokens really pays for these cards very nicely. I wasn't upset with them with the upgrades, because they were eventually like they were free over time with the arcane researches, right? Once I got through my Sixth Sense and my Wither, which were the priority upgrades in this deck, as well as Olive. But I like, even if I like played one Spectral Razor 2 times, I was happy with it. So like I would use it, return it, next turn use it, it would go into the discard pile, and I'd be like, it's over, but it's great. We also have the Prophesy here, which is just I like the skill even in once again in a full collection. It serves its purpose, and I think it also works really well in a limited collection. So again, if you want to try a limited collection series, this is my advice to you. Take 3 random sets or choose 3 sets, and don't use the core or the investigator decks. And you can kind of see just how that changes how you approach your deck building, and like what you need to play, what you're going to play, what you find success in those sets that you do end up drafting. This deck again was very fun. I know a lot of you wanted to see it, so that's why I made this video. I hope you enjoyed this quick little Saturday video of the Father Mateo deck. Again, all the relevant links are down in the video description. If you did not watch that Father Mateo deck, you should, that Father Mateo Is He Good Now video, you should check it out. If you have watched it, consider watching it again. I would love the view on the channel. Thanks for watching, everybody. Huge thank you to all of our patrons for supporting us, and to all of you awesome people who are watching this live. You guys all rock. Leave a comment, please. I'd love to hear from you. Who do you think we're going to draft in the Rogue or Survivor runs? Because those are the 2 we have left. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a good one, and as always, a GG's.